Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, Aaron Michaels is a singer and songwriter from Muskogee, Oklahoma. His songs Trust and Faith Over Fear have consistently been on the top of the Christian music charts since they were released. Aaron has some new music and is branching out. Let's hear more about it. The last time we talked was in August of 2022.
Is that when it was? I knew it was this past year, but
Time flies.
Last year, yeah. So it's been a little while, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you still teaching?
I am for now. I think this might be my last year.
Really?
Looking into some business things, opening my own business, and we'll talk about it if you want to. I'm starting a record label.
Okay. We have to hear about that then.
Yeah. God just put it on my heart about 6 months ago, and I mentioned it to a few bands, and they were all in, and I was like, well, I guess there's no turning back now. So
you already laid the groundwork, right?
Right. Yeah. So we're going to get this thing going. We got 3 bands already, and I've got about 6 more knocking on my door. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. And I'm going to get into radio promotion and things like that, and just, artist, development, things like that. So I've got people from the UK messaging me about radio promotion, and I'm just like, well, hold on, I wasn't ready for all this yet. I was
not set up yet.
Let's wait till after the first of the year at least, and we'll get it started. But yeah, it's going to be called Resurrection Records, and I basically, I'm still going to be working with Randall and BMG, and kind of an extension, I guess, that, and I'm just kind of doing what he did for me. Trying to help artists get out there and promote them and teach them the ropes of social media and recording. I've got a producer here in Oklahoma that does a really great job. And so we're going to be working with him. And anyway, I just like to see artists grow. I want to see we're all in this together, and it's not a competition. And it's funny because one of the bands we're on is like a top, number 1 song of the year. It was on the Rock for Him radio chart or whatever. And one of the bands I just signed is on the same. Actually, 2 of them are on that same chart, but one of them is like really up there. They're in first place right now. And I was like, I put it out there, but I was starting to gain on them. But at the same time, I'm like, I really want them to win.
Now it's a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah, like I really want to see them win. So anyway, it's exciting though. I'm excited about it.
That's great. So I guess you're still out of school for the holidays, so you've had time to think about it, or have you just been kind of vegetating with family?
Yeah, well, I've been really busy, doing the record label thing. I've been building the website and just talking to distributors and things like that. So, I mean, when you enjoy what you're doing, it's really not work, so I don't feel like I'm working, but I'm not just lounging around the house. I'll put it that way. But I'm still relaxing. I'm fixing to watch an OU football game. They're fixing to play here in a little bit.
Earlier, you mentioned Broadhead Music Group. You've been with them a while. How's that relationship going?
A little over 2 years, and going really well. I did several shows with them, this past year, and really gotten to know him and Joe Vaughn. I don't know if you know who Joe Vaughn is.
No, I don't think I know him.
CCM artist, but he's a super nice guy, and I actually wrote a song with him that I'll probably release probably mid-year. It's more of a CHR, AC CCM song called God of Miracles. So anyway, I've gotten to know him, over this past year, and so it's been good. It's been real good.
Help me with reconciling the Aaron Michaels and the Aaron Hobbs name. Are we keeping the Aaron Hobbs name out of it, or is it switched over to Aaron Hobbs? How are we doing this?
Well, Aaron Hobbs is going to be the owner of Resurrection Records. Aaron Michaels is stage name. Aaron Michaels is a brand per se, I guess.
I just wanted to make it clear for people. Well, I got confused too, but
right.
But some people might get confused. So now we can separate those two.
Absolutely.
Now, You have a background in helping with Celebrate Recovery, homeless shelters, things like that, because you had a background where you had addictions and that you were set free from that. For people that haven't heard from you or didn't hear you back in August, can you tell them a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to keep it short, back in my early 20s, I traveled with a band called Stone Lily, and we were opening for bands like Seven Dust. A lot of people know who Seven Dust is in the rock world. And I just got caught up in the partying and the rock life, and I got caught up in doing cocaine and crank, and I was drinking almost every day. I had to have a drink, and so it came to the point we were in Battle Creek, Michigan, and I'd been up for 3 or 4 days on crank and cocaine, and I passed out in the middle of a show, and I woke up about a day and a half, 2 days later. They said, I don't remember any of it, but God gave me a second chance, and I knew right then when I woke up that I had to go home and I needed to give my life back to Christ, because I was raised a Christian, and I'd already been, I'd been baptized and given my heart to God, but I wasn't living it. And so at that point, that's when I went home. I quit that band, and that's really when the Aaron Michaels journey started. Was back probably around 2001, and I did it for a while, and then I took a break from it, and God told me I had too many songs sitting on a shelf collecting dust, that I need to get them back, and so that's when we recorded I Stand Amazed in 2019. So
yeah. So how has your sobriety journey been coming along?
Oh, it's great. I wouldn't change a thing, and I think the biggest thing is trying to help other people. That helps me get through it, helping other people. There's been no setbacks or anything like that, and I just give God all the glory, because only through his strength and his power can I do that, because I definitely couldn't have done it on my own. And so yeah, I have a heart for Celebrate Recovery, and we've done several of those this year. And funny, because I was talking to a guy that's going to help book for the label, and I gave him a whole list of Celebrate Recovery. So I'm like, hey, whenever we get a chance, we're gonna do that. And also, I was hit up about doing some jail ministry, some prison ministry. I'm gonna do that, quite a bit this year too, hopefully. So, those people, they need God, they need Jesus, and they need hope. They need somebody to tell them, hey, we've all been there at some point, and they need to know that their mistakes aren't any bigger than anybody else's mistakes, and that they can be forgiven, and that they can move on through Christ. So
I think about it because this time of year is particularly difficult for a lot of people, and those temptations are there a lot stronger, I believe, just because of the season. What would you say to some of the people that might be struggling right now?
I think the first thing I would tell them is that there's a God that loves them and believes in them, and no matter their situation, that doesn't have to be their fault, and that the main thing is try not to be alone. That's when you start thinking about things, is when you're by yourself. Don't shut people out. Allow them to come into your life and be there, because that's so important to have a support system, I guess you should say. So yeah, I think that's one of the main things is don't shut people out, and try not to, stay by yourself. Try to stay busy, be around people that care about you. So.
Amen. Your song Faith Over Fear has had a huge response. Tell us about it.
Oh man, Faith Over Fear is changed my whole career, honestly. Trust did really well, but that was kind of a introduction to Aaron Michaels. My first CD didn't get a lot of airplay. Did here and there, but just not a whole lot. And then when we joined with Broadhead Music Group, kind of opened up a lot of doors as far as radio play goes. And so when Faith Over Fear was released, I thought it would do better, but I didn't think it would do so much better. I got my Spotify numbers the other day, and it was saying that I was on over 2,000 playlists. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. And, 100 and I think it was 140 something countries, but Spotify had emailed me and said, your song Faith Over Fear is on the top Christian Spotify playlist. And we're talking everybody's on there, Skillet and Disciple, all the big boys, Mm-hmm. And when I made that, I was like, man, that's going to be a game changer, because it had like 140,000, listeners that listened to that playlist. And I got over 3,000 playlists or streams just off that playlist alone. And I didn't apply for it, but it's just one of those things, one of those God things, and God's just been working with it. It's got a great message to it. We even put it out as a CCM, CHR song. We didn't expect it to do great on CCM radio because it's a little heavy for that, but it did get played on 120 different stations in the U.S. So, hey, we'll take that. But yeah, Faith Over Fear, it's done really well. It's the only song I released last year, except for I did a acoustic version of Trust that I released. But as far as a big release, I didn't really push that one. But as far as a big release, that was the only one I released. And it's still doing well. I'm still getting probably, and for me, these numbers may not be big for everybody, but for me, it's getting probably 300-400 streams a day, and so wow. Spotify, and that doesn't count, iTunes and all the other, Amazon and all that. But so it's still going strong. It's still doing well. So I'm proud. I'm proud that it's done so well. And I was really excited to write with Jason Roy from Building 429. And he actually, recorded and produced that whole song too. And so that was an experience, to get to, record and write with him. So
that's great to hear. It seems to be really resonating with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we live in some crazy times, People need hope. They need something to believe in. They need to have faith, and they have to have faith. What else do you have, if you don't have faith? So, I've even gotten messages from people that aren't Christians saying how that song kind of opened their eyes a little bit, and that's all you can ask for. That's why we do this. That's why I do it. I think that's why we all do this, is to, try to share our story and try to get other people saved and get them to have a relationship with Christ, and you're seeing people every day, getting saved from the world. I can't remember her last name, but that Kat
Von D.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan got saved the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, he got baptized at a Baptist church. And so, yeah, things are changing in the world, and people are starting to see that. It's a good thing.
That's awesome. Well, we're not here just to reminisce about what we talked about last time. There's something that's coming, and actually it will be out before this airs. So tell us what's about to happen.
All right. Well, I've got a new single coming out. It's called Your Chains Are Breakable. And the last time we talked, this is back in 2022, I told you that the newer stuff was going to be heavier than what people had been used to from Aaron Michaels. And this song is, for Aaron Michaels, this song's pretty heavy. And so I'm excited about it. It's got some screams in it, and I really, I feel like I've been kind of holding back a little bit. I can hit those high notes when I want to. And so.
So you wanted to this time?
Yeah. You're going to hear some high notes. There's a feature guest on there playing drums, and I've been kind of putting it out there on social media trying to get people to guess. But
you can go ahead and just spill the beans on here.
All right. So, Lester Estelle, the drummer for Pillar, is going to be playing the drums on this track. So I was totally stoked and excited about that. And when Randall hooked that up, I was like, he asked me, he was like, do you care if Lester plays drums? I was like, no. Like, let's go.
Why are you asking this question?
Yeah. How'd you even
And
ask?
for those people that don't know, Lester also plays for Kelly Clarkson now, who is in the general market and is huge. So, yeah, that's quite the score to have someone like that on your drums.
Right. Yeah, and he killed it too. I was like, oh, man. And it was funny because I guess when Randall talked to him, he asked him, what he thought about the song. And he said, he's like, dude, that's the most fun I've had on a song in a long time. I guess he's just used to playing, Kelly Clarkson, beats or whatever. I don't know. But he went off on him. So he did a great job. So I definitely appreciate it. So props to him.
You let me listen to it.
I did.
And it's kind of like a catchy anthem type of a feel to it at first. Just at the end, when you think it's over, there's like this real nasty breakdown.
Yeah, I love it.
Really good. Yeah. I was like, it was like it got real quiet. Then all of a sudden, oh, we're not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
So your skill and Lester's skill.
And when we did that part, I was like, where should we put this, in the middle, or he's like, no, let's leave it at the end because people think it's over. Like you said, they're like, they'll think it's over. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just hits you with it.
Like, where'd that come from?
Right. Liked it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Good.
So tell us the story behind the song, first of all, how it came about, and maybe give us a little background on the music and that sort of thing.
Well, it was kind of what we just got through talking about, my testimony, and it's called Your Chains Are Breakable. And it basically just talks about, chains of fear and anxiety, chains of addiction, chains of hate, any chain, depression, whatever it might be, your chains are breakable through Jesus Christ. You can do anything you want to do. If you just, put your mind to it, you can do it. And I just wanted to write a song about that. And, it started with just that first verse. And it said, fear wraps you up so tight you couldn't breathe, easier said than done with anxiety. And then it says the past does not define who you are. And I thought that's a huge line. Because we're always thinking backwards. We're always thinking what I used to do or what I did. People think about me the way I used to be, but Jesus doesn't do that. He covers those sins and they're washed away, and that old person is gone. And so that line is huge to me, that your past does not define who you are. And then just, after that, your chains are breakable, I just think there's some great lyrics in it. It's just heartfelt and truthful. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to that song. And when you said an anthem, when I write a song, kind of like Faith Over Fear, a lot of people say that's kind of an anthem, an anthem of faith. And when I write a song, I envision the crowd. What is the crowd going to do when we're playing this song? I want people to be enjoying it. I want them to be into it. And I want them to be able to sing with me, just like if you're doing a praise and worship song, I believe it was Chris Tomlin that said, when we're up there on stage, we're worshiping with them. We're the lead worshipers. This isn't a show for us to sing to you. I want you to be a part of this. And so the same way in rock music, I want the crowd to feel what I'm feeling, and I want them to sing what I'm singing and just be able to relate, to what we're talking about.
So that's coming out January 1st. Your Chains Are Breakable. What else have you got going on?
Like I said earlier, I think I'm probably going to release, which to some people may think this is crazy, but I'm going to release a, CCM, CHRAC song that I wrote for my wife. My wife struggles with lupus and those flare-ups, and she's just in constant pain all the time. We pray every day together, and we pray that, God is going to heal her, and we still believe that. And that's what this song is called, God of Miracles. We still believe that he's a God of miracles, and if she's not healed on this earth, she's going to be healed in heaven. So that's what the song is about, and it's pretty special to me. So we'll probably release that to AC, CHR, CCM radio. It's really not heavy enough probably to put on rock radio. I'll probably send it to you guys and send it out and see if you want to play it or not. But we'll release that, and then I've got 3 more after this to release. So we'll at least release one more after your Chains Are Breakable this year. So you can look for that probably around end of summer. Probably release another one. That heavy sound's going to continue. We've got, 3 more songs that are going to have even more screams in them, and more guitar solos and things like that. So I'm really excited for everybody to hear the new stuff.
You gonna have time for any festivals or anything this year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've already been invited to a few, hoping to get, a few more. I've got my submissions put in. We're just praying and we'll take what we get, and we're never too busy to play. That's why we do what we do, so we can go share, our stories and our testimonies with other people and just go meet people. We love to go meet people, and I know you do too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of cool people, don't you?
I do get to meet a lot of cool people. I'm spoiled. So as you're talking about this new label, what are some skills that are essential to succeeding in the music industry? Oh,
man. Precision is a good word, and I think consistency. You have to stay consistent. You can't just sit back and expect people to call you, if I can put it that way. You don't want to bug people, but at the same time, you got to put your stuff out there and let it be known. And also, I think I've found with working with Randall that co-writing with other people, going on tour with other people, getting to know other artists, I think that's really important to do that. And do things like this, doing interviews and just getting your stuff out there, on the business side of it. People don't want to hear it sometimes, but you have to spend some money, Mm-hmm. We don't make a lot of money. You're going to spend more money than you are making money in this business, especially in the Christian rock business. And you have to be okay with that. You got to think
Mm-hmm.
of it ministry. And you got to think of it as sowing seed into the ministry. And, I don't know if I told you this story, but I sold my motorcycle. Did I tell you that story?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So I sold my motorcycle that was about 2 years ago, whenever I signed the deal. And I realized how much the recordings were going to be. When you record with the big boys, you're going to pay a lot more. I paid more for one song than I did my whole first album. But, the quality is so much better, and if you want to get airplay on the radio, you have to have a good quality, song. And so I'd been praying about it, and I had 2 dreams about it. And finally on the second one, God was like, you need to sell your motorcycle. Because after the first dream, I was like, okay, is this devil or is this God? Because I don't like this. So anyway, I finally realized in the second dream, I heard him say to me through my dream, he said, these doors that I'm opening for you aren't always going to be open, but you can always get another motorcycle. And I was like, oh, I hate it when you make sense and when you're right, But, it was a God thing for sure, because I went to my job a couple of weeks after that, and there was a lady there that I'd grown up with. I knew who she was, but her husband had just wrecked his motorcycle, and they were looking for another motorcycle. So I was like, okay, God, this is, you're funny. Ha ha. So I go over there, and within 2 weeks it was sold. And, there's even a story behind that. What I was asking, they offered $500 less than what I was asking for it. And I said, well, I guess so. I'll make a deal with you, whatever. So a couple of days later, he calls me back and he says, you're never going to believe this. And I said, you know what? I think I probably will, because God's got his hand in this, And he said, I went to the bank and I told them how much I needed. And then they called me back and said, well, we're going to have to give you this amount, which was $500 more, which was what I was asking anyway. Right.
Yeah.
And so when he called me back, he said, okay, I got your money. He said, but I need to tell you something. I said, okay. He said, I'm giving you what I told you I was going to pay for the bike. He said, but I'm going to give you the $500 extra as a donation towards the ministry. He said, I just feel better doing it that way.
Wow.
So anyway, God just had his hand on it. And, that paid for all my merch. It paid for my recordings. It paid for gas that summer. It paid for everything, that whole summer. So But anyway, God is good, and, he'll always find a way for you if you're doing his will. And sometimes you got to give up worldly things. So I learned that lesson.
It's a good story. What's the best advice someone's given you so far?
Be yourself. Don't try to change for anybody. When people say, well, you can't cross over and do CCM and this and that, sometimes I write songs to the Lord that are praise and worship songs. I'm okay with doing that. Just being myself. I can do rock. I can do some, not so heavy songs, and I'm going to be okay with that. So I think just as an artist, continue to be yourself, but don't be stuck in a rut, but continue to be you, be yourself and who you are in your music, and just keep going, don't give up.
What bands or musicians inspired you to do what you do?
As far as Christian bands go, Stryper was my first concert. Yeah. So, Stryper and then, Petra, of course. And, then later on, of course, there's always like Michael W. Smith, but I wasn't really a huge fan. But and Stephen Curtis Chapman, and all those guys. But I didn't really listen to them a whole lot. But one that really did, when I came back off the road after, almost losing my life, I really got into Third Day and Mac Powell. So he's got a huge influence on me. And then it wasn't too long after that, I got into Skillet. And found Skillet, and then I found Disciple after that, and then I found, all these other bands. Building 429 was one that I got into back then. And so just all these bands, because I grew up Church of Christ, so I didn't even know there was Christian music, honestly. I had to find it on my own. I didn't even know it was really out there. My parents didn't listen to it, but yeah, that's a lot, Chris Tomlin, Mercy Me, there's always Spoken. I was a huge Spoken fan. And when I got to meet Matt at a festival we played at, I got to sit next to him during lunch, and I thought I was just the coolest guy ever. He looked over, he was like, dude, it's okay. You don't have to be nervous. I guess he could tell I was nervous. I was just eating my food, But yeah, that's a few of the people that I've grown up listening to and kind of had impact on my music. Anything else you'd like to share? Maybe spill the beans on who's on the label or something like that? Anything juicy you can give us? Yeah, I want to give props out, and this is going to be probably the first time anybody hears about it, but through my label that I'm doing, Resurrection Records, some artists that I've signed and I'm going to be working with are 3 Days Under. I think you've probably heard of them guys. Oh, yeah. And a band called Tricord. I just interviewed them and spent some time with them the other week. Love those guys. He told me to tell you hello. Well, hello. Okay. And then we've got a Christian rapper we're going to be working with named B. Wade. I don't know if you've heard of him yet, but we're going to get his music out there. He's so good. His testimony is amazing. He was in prison for 9 years and got saved while I was in prison, and just has a great story and great testimony. So I'm excited to share that with the world. But yeah, that's the first three we're going to start with, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So, but other than that, we're just going to be playing as much as we can and still recording new music. We're already starting to, record and write some new music for whenever this EP's up. Actually, our EP will be available in about 2 weeks. I'll have it, for sale online and, at our shows as a CD form. But other than that, no, we're just going to keep kicking. Sounds great. Much success on your new single. I pray it does well. And by the way, thanks for recording this during the holidays for me. Right. Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's always a pleasure. For sure. Hopefully we're going to get to meet in person one of these days. So this is going to happen. We're going to make it happen. All right. We appreciate you guys. All right. Good night. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music, and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week, and let's be kind to one another.